trying to have the children's story time or message for Children's Church starting next Sunday. We're not expecting you to give eloquent King James Version sermons. We just want you to share your favorite Bible story, your favorite time maybe at the old church, memories. We want to make Strider and Porter and all those of their age understand our background, so that they, when it comes to their time, they know our story. It's all of our stories, not just ours, theirs as well. Tell them our experiences, our joy about Jesus. And if you're uncertain about how to do that, I know I have books, the church library has books, Dan has books on how to share a story. But most of you are teachers. I think you know how to tell a story. So I encourage you, please sign up. Also, as Ronnie did mention, next Sunday we will have nursery at Children's Church. But for us more adults, the coffee will be back out and the water fountains will be back in installation. So you can get that juice so you can stay awake through my sermons. Joking aside, let us go before the Lord in prayer and go into His Word. Lord, I just want to praise your name. You reached into this dark world and found my soul, and spoke tenderly to it, and called me not only to be your child, your beloved, but then you said, I got something special for you. And you said that something special to each person here. That something special is different. But part of it means being an ambassador. Not just being adopted into a family, but going out and telling others about you. What a privilege, what a joy. Help us, dear Lord, to do that in a gracious way, full of truth and mercy. Amen. Amen. Our passage this morning, if you want to join with me, is in Daniel chapter 1, and we're going to read the first 16 verses. Daniel 1 through 16. In the third year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord delivered Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hands, along with some of the articles from the temple of God. These he carried off to the temple of his God in Babylonia and put in the treasure house of his God. Then the king ordered Ashpenaz, chief of his court officials, to bring in some of the Israelites from the royal family and the nobility, young men without any physical defect, handsome, showing aptitude for every kind of learning, well-informed, quick to understand, and qualified to serve in the king's palace. He was to teach them the language and literature of the Babylonians. The king assigned them a daily amount of food and wine from the king's table. They were to be trained for 3 years, and after they were to enter into the king's service. Among these were some from Judah: Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. The chief official gave them new names. To Daniel, the name Belteshazzar. To Hananiah, Shadrach. To Mishael, Meshach. And to Azariah, Abednego. But Daniel resolved not to defile himself with the royal food and wine, and he asked the chief official for permission not to defile himself this way. Now God had caused the official to show favor and sympathy to Daniel. But the official told Daniel, I'm afraid of my lord the king, who has assigned you your food and drink. Why should he see you looking worse than the other young men your age? The king would have my head because of you. Daniel then said to the guard, whom the chief official had appointed over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, please test your servants for 10 days. Give us nothing but vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then compare our appearances with that of the young men who eat the royal food, and treat your servants in accordance with what you see. So he agreed to this and tested them for 10 days. At the end of the 10 days, they looked healthier and better nourished than any of the young men who ate the royal food. So the guard took away their choice food and wine they were to drink and gave them vegetables instead. For vegetarians, this is a wonderful passage. Don't worry, for all you meat lovers, God still has a place for you. I'll be in that group. But 2 Sundays ago, I delivered a message for Flag Day on all of us coming under Christ's banner, his flag, and letting us go out, bringing others, and let it be a unifying flag instead of what we see as for country flags or other types of flags, say schools competing. I'm for KU, I'm for KSU, I'm from Nebraska, whatever. But yet we do realize even with Christ's flag, there are boundaries. We do not cross beyond because it is not part of who Christ is. So we are supposed to go out then as ambassadors carrying his flag, and we must therefore represent the one who we go out with, truthfully. And we do that truthfully for a couple of reasons. Because if you're trying to invite someone in and you're only telling lies, one day your lie will be found out. And will those who you've been telling, and will they want to continue coming to your King of Kings and Lord of Lords? No, because you've been saying, my God is a God of truth, but you're teaching lies. They will run away. But also because our God is truth. And if we are his children, we should be speaking truth. Let it be coming out of our mouth. And we are even commanded to do this. In Ephesians chapter 4:25, it says, therefore each of you must put off falsehood and speak truthfully to your neighbor, for we are all members of one body. Therefore, we need to make sure that we give an accurate presentation as we go out as an ambassador for Christ, to tell the world, to teach the truth. We are, as we are told in Matthew 5, to be salt and light. And we have to be careful, we are told in that passage in Matthew 5, which I'll read to you, verses 13 through 16 of Matthew 5. You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in that house. In that same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. So we're going out in truth. And we're to be this light and salt. Well, what does that mean? And we're told in these very verses not to lose our saltiness and not to dim our lights. Because we want to give a clear presentation. We want to reflect God's glory back out to the world. That's why we need to shine Jesus' light. Because how can the world see? Because they live in darkness of sin. How can they know the truth unless we shine them to Jesus? And then salt, it's a preservation. And their souls are dying and decaying. But we come in with the gospel message. The salt's preserving when they accept it. Saved, sanctified, a life eternal. But considering all this, it's possible to lose our saltiness and dim our lights. Is it possible for us to go the other way? Too much light, too much salt. As we go out in the world, yeah. Because what happens when you go out and you've been inside in a dark room for a long time? Go out into the bright sunlight. Yeah, you're blinded by that very thing which is there to help give you sight and vision. You would rather cower back into the darkness. And what happens when you put too much salt on your food? Or you're swimming in a the ocean. Salt gets in your eyes. Or on a sore. Burns. It stings. You want nothing to do with it. And yet we're called to be salt and light. This doesn't sound very friendly. But yet, we have to watch this because we can be too intrusive with how we give the gospel. We can be so much truth. This is what God says. You must do it. That those who are struggling in sin say, no, I like this darkness. It's more comfortable. I know at least where I think everything is. If I go out and see how things really are, no, I don't want to. And with the saltiness, it might be a great seasoning, but if all of a sudden we just come off harsh, it's too overpowering. So we need this balance. We need to be in the Spirit because the Spirit is not just truth. He's a spirit of love. He balances the truth and the love. And therefore we need to learn from Him on how to be great ambassadors of the Spirit of God, being the right amount of salt and the right amount of light. But how do we do that? How do we know when to do it? Well, Christ even warns us that we should. Because He told His disciples as He were sending them out for one of the first times as the 12 into the world around them, telling them of His kingdom, He said in Matthew 10:16, therefore be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves. You've got to be wise in how you're saying things. And then He goes, or the Word of God goes further. In Proverbs, it talks various places about how we speak, or how we should speak. In Proverbs 12:18, Solomon penned these words, reckless words pierce like a sword, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. And as well as in Proverbs 15:2, the tongue of the wise commends knowledge, but the mouth of the fool gushes folly. I like the one in 12 a little more. 15 is a great backup. But a fool is going out just willy-nilly. It may be truth what he's spewing, but he's not thinking about what he's saying. And it's like arrows. It's dagger. We're supposed to be ambassadors of love, and we're going around with a sword stabbing people left and right. Is that love? If I came over to your house and just started stabbing you, is that love? I mean, no, you could haul me away to jail. But a wise person knows when to use it and how to do so eloquently. And that is why we need to maybe look at Daniel as an example. He knew how to draw a line. He knew how to maintain his holiness. He knew how to reach out to the Babylonian Empire. Later, even the Medes and the Persians. He sought to bring wisdom to his speech and his interactions with one another. Because he knew how to draw a line in the sand creatively. What do I mean by that? Well, I know because all of you are perfect children, this isn't with regards to you. But you remember those other kids in the playroom where there were toys scattered around, everyone went to their little area and started playing. You grabbed your toys, really loved them, and then another kid saw what you were playing with and wanted to come over and start taking yours. What did you do? Draw a line. No touching. Over there. These are mine. We need those lines to maintain our holiness, but we can't cut people out completely. We got to do like Daniel and draw a creative line. A line that maintains our holiness and that we are true light and salt, but yet which can allow others in. Daniel did that by saying, look, you've chosen us because we're the best of the Israelite royal family to be now engrafted into your Babylonian empire, to be teachers and help incorporate the rest of Israel into the Babylonian empire. But what you are providing for us as a meal, I cannot eat. We do not know the exact reason why. It could have been that the food was previously sacrificed to an idol. It could have been that there was blood still in the meat. It could have been it was an animal which Israelite law would not allow them to eat. Whatever it was, Daniel realized this was a mandate from God. Even though he was no longer in Israel, he was still under the God of Israel. And so he submitted to that, but he also knew he put his life and others in line, in jeopardy. He could have gone and simply goes, no, I am not going to eat this. Bring me some vegetables. Bring me kosher. But he didn't. He just went to the guard, told his scenario, saying, this is what I believe. I cannot touch that food. But he also allowed the officer to explain his side. How would it look if you came before the king looking weaker, looking malnutritious, malnourished? Not only would your life be on line, but mine, because I did not feed you properly. Daniel could just say, I understand, and either accepted the proposal or been very strong and said, no, this is the way it's got to be. If you're not going to provide me vegetables, I'll just fast for 7 days. But Daniel chose a third option. He drew a creative line. He said, how about this then? Just for 10 days only, you give me and my 3 friends over here only vegetables and water. You can give the rest of the food to everyone else. After 10 days, you make the decision to compare us to the other gentlemen. How are we doing? Now, this isn't 3 months or 6 months. Like we know a lot of diets are out there. It takes that while to get. This is 10 days. I mean, there are even chemicals out there today that help you improve your diet, but they take more than 10 days to do any change. Daniel is saying, just change for 10 days. He did not know for certain what will happen, but he felt impressed by God that 10 days was just enough time. And sure enough, after 10 days, they came in looking not only as good, but better than the others. So much so that the guy says, okay, you guys are no more eating venison, no more pork, no more anything. You're having veggies, you're having kale, you're having spinach. And I'm not sure how the other guys felt with Daniel after that. But their lives were spared. And because of that, Daniel's life was spared. How many in Babylon? How many in Persia? How many in Mede came to hear of this God of Israel? And it wasn't just nations, the kings, Nebuchadnezzar, Belshazzar, Darius, Xerxes, all got introduced to the God of Israel through Daniel, because he drew a creative line instead of being blunt. He drew that creative line. But how does that work with us? Well, I could go anywhere, but let's just go with a situation which is very true to our hearts. Finding out abortion is not of God. And we want to proclaim that from the rooftops. We want to see legislation changed. But what do you tell that 15-year-old who's got pregnant, who's thinking about going to an abortion clinic, her boyfriend just dumped her, her parents kicked her out because she's pregnant? Do you just stand outside the abortion clinic waving signs? Do you throw bricks through the window? No. We got to find creative ways to let her know God still loves her. Loves that child within her. And walk with her not only away from the abortion clinic, but to find a true answer for her situation. It may be helping her through the next 9 months of pregnancy. It may be even after that. But showing that she has a family who loves her and is concerned about her. And if she doesn't want the child after, help maybe finding an adoption process. It's a long haul. It's more than 10 days. But we've got to make the gospel more bearable. It's not that it is harsh, but so many times we preach the harshness and forget about bringing the love to help it. We bring the sword of truth, but we need the salve of love. Draw the lines, but do so creative. Maintain your holiness. Maintain the holiness of God. Preach it. But also maintain the love of God. And finding ways, creative ways, to draw that line where you stay true to your calling as a child of God. And as an ambassador of teaching His truth. But at the same time, saying, let us work together to find a creative way so that you can be part of this family. That you are not offended by the truth of God, but finding it as a warm embrace from a Father who loves you and is seeking the best for you. I cannot give you the answers. This is something between you and God on each and every situation. Whether it be abortion, gun control, whatever you name it. You've got to learn to be wise in your speech. I've got to be wise in my speech. Speaking truth, but drawing that line creatively. Looking at Daniel, seeing how he did it. Learning Christ did it as well, but I get lost in his parables. He made it approachable to those who were willing to hear. Those who did need to hear the sword, those Pharisees got it. Because they had to be waking up to the truth. But for those who were receptive, he also brought that love. Let us do the best we can to preach the gospel of truth, but also share with the salve of love. So that all may find the gospel bearable, lovable, enjoyable. We're not watering it down. We're just giving it in doses in which they can manage. Paul did it in 1 Corinthians, and the author of Hebrews said, you are not ready for this type of food. It's too hard. You're still infants in Christ. You need the spiritual milk. Some of them aren't even there yet. We got to get them used to milk. And then we can talk about the harder subjects. But learn to draw creative lines. It's so easy to just get that stick, draw it in the sand as a permanent marker. This is where I go. I cannot go any further. But we create more enemies than we create friends. We create more animosity than we create love. Draw the line, but make it perforated so people can walk through. Draw a line, make it a little wiggly so they can feel the embrace of God around them. Seek God's wisdom out. I don't have all the answers, but He does. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just want to learn from you on how to preach your word in our lives as well as what we say. We know the truth has to be God, because we cannot just let them die in their own sin and iniquity. But dear Lord, as we come, let us not be so brash at times that we feel like we need to maintain your holiness but forget about your love. The world needs both, love and truth. So as we go out, help us to maintain who we need to be in you, holy, perfect, as you have called us to be. But at the same time, to follow your example of being a friend of sinners. Sitting down, listening, hearing what one has to say, and working together by going to your word to find those creative minds where we can come together and then eventually draw them in. In all this we pray. In Christ's name, amen. At this time, I was going to tell you the hymn number, but I don't know what it is. So.